Okay, we are recording. So it's been a while since our last meeting. Our last meeting was, let's see, when was our last meeting? September. Oh, it's John. It was held on July 16th. So it's been a little while. You know, I was hoping that we wouldn't have masks and stuff at this point, but we're wearing masks. But since our last meeting, I mean, entertainment and stuff has opened up a little bit, so it's a little bit nicer than it was with COVID. And I'm assuming everybody's pretty much driving these days, right? All the districts. I know we are here at Shenandoah. Makes it kind of hard for us to have meetings in person, but we might get back into that. Mike, I just want to let you know this meeting is being recorded and we're going to post it to our YouTube channel. So if you don't want to be on, just leave your camera off. Okay, so since our last meeting, Jason Johnson was elected, or he was selected for Tech of the Year by our NIAP. So hats off to him. That was a great accomplishment. I don't know if everybody heard about it. I know we put out an email, but that happened since our last meeting, which was, of course, on July 16th. And Bob Reith with New York Bus Sales presented on Cummins Insight. And a couple of nice items with Cummins Insight that he mentioned is if you use the Update Manager, it keeps your software up to date. The Pro version is required to program and update ECMs. You can use the regular for diagnostic testing and regenerations, which I'm sure we are all doing. I know we are here at Shenandoah. Features and parameters, you can set the max speed of the vehicle. Again, I think this is with the Pro that you need to make those kind of adjustments. You can download an ECM calibration code so that if you are going to change the calibration in your ECM, you can resort back to your original programming if need be. EDS is a web-based troubleshooting tool, and it gets you the most likely solution. So if you have an issue with a bus, you can look at that, and it will tell you, about where to look for it, the most common solution. Sounds a lot like we have a Snap-on tool here, a Solstice, that has the most likely change parts, most likely wiring, just the common issues. So along with this, we're not going to spotlight a district today for time, but we have elected to provide 2 people from the Capital Chapter an ASE Master School Bus Certification. So it's just a way that we can take the dues and stuff that people pay into our organization and give back. And we're going to set up a committee at our next steering committee meeting to decide, so that there's a committee that decides on who gets the nomination, who gets the certifications. There's going to be 2 people per year. Let's see. We're going to accept nominations from, of course, the supervisors, head mechanics, transportation supervisors. So if you have a mechanic that you think is worthy of or deserving of a school bus master certification, we want to know about it. We'll let our committee look through all the nominees, and we'll pick 2 per year. I'm hoping if funds keep up, we can continue doing this. If you are selected by the committee, You'll have to set up your own ASE online account. You will then link your account to our account. I'm working on getting the head mechanics an account now. And once you do that, we will be able to pay for your certification. And the tests, because the tests are what you have to pay for. The training material is all online these days. So there's 6 tests that you're going to have to do. S1 through S6. S1 is body, S2 is diesel, S3 is drivetrain, S4 is brakes, S5 is suspension and steering, and S6 is electrical and power systems. And there's a test for each one of those that you have to pay for, that we are going to pay for. So you link your own personal account to our account, and then we can fund it. Your certification will be good for 5 years. After the 5 years, you'll need to recertify. When you recertify, it's only half the questions of the original test, so it shouldn't be too bad. And we will also pick up the cost for your recertification, so long as you are working for a dues-paying district in our chapter. We will pay for that. So it's just something that I thought we could all put together, or we would put together and keep everybody trained. It'd be nice to have a bunch of master certified bus technicians in our chapter. So along with that, does anybody have any questions on any of that stuff? I mean, if you do, it's new, and we can address this later on as well. But today's presentation will be on coolants. Our presenter is Kevin with RH Crown. And with that being said, I will turn this over to you, Kevin.
Well, I tell the association, thanks for having us. I know we've done this a couple other times. It's been a few years, so we're excited to be back. We're excited to continue to be a part of the organization. We're local, family-owned business, and we wouldn't be here without the support of a lot of the districts. And we think it's important, given the way things have changed in the industry, to do our best to educate and help get good information out in the industry. So thanks for having us. Bear with us. Hopefully we'll do this right. I'm used to presenting live and not through cameras, so we'll utilize technology and get it done for you here. So I'm going to share my screen. I've opened up the question comments area there, so that if you have questions or don't understand something, please type it in there or ask it out loud, and I will try to answer it. I will also have printed copies of these for the sales men in your area, so that if you'd like a hard copy, you can get it. I'm going to email it back over to Dan, so he'll have it, so that you guys can have a reference point to go to at any time. But I think when we're done, it'll be pretty simple. We're going to steer you in a direction that the industry is going to, and by doing that, it should make your lives a lot easier. So let's see if we can share my entire screen here, and we're going to see if this works. Let's see if it changes. And let's see, and it didn't. Hold on a minute here. Come on. There it goes. Okay. All right.
Hey, just real quick before you start, because I
Sure.
see somebody else joined, this meeting is being recorded. So if you don't want to be on the video, just turn your camera off. It's going to be put to our YouTube channel. So just putting that out there for the new people since Kevin started. Back to you, Kevin.
Sounds good. My contact information is here. Our primary phone numbers are up top. You can call the 800 number or the 518-762-4589 and reach me directly anytime you want, or my cell phone. It's on pretty much 24/7. We try to get that out there because we know questions come up, from time to time. You might be working on something and not know exactly what you need to use or what the right course of action is with coolants these days. So please call me directly if you have any questions when you're in the middle of any of it. We'll help you. This is kind of a makeup of where the market is right now. This doesn't include your light duty trucks, and that applies to you guys because you have a large amount of mixed fleet. So you have some probably F-250s in there maybe, or some Chevys with some diesel motors and things like that. This is just kind of what's out there right now. And as you can see, the heavy duty market has a pretty good piece of the pie. The retail carries a lot of it. And then you got your OEMs and your traditional markets. So there's 6 major brands out there that sell about 89% of all the gallons. Our gallons are done through Purus and Service Pro, which is made by a couple different manufacturers from us throughout the industry. Old World and Prestone are the 2 primers that we use here. RH Crown buys their products from Prestones, and we either have the Prestone product or we have it branded in our Purus and Service Pro products. Just a quick kind of tell on that. Service Pro and Purus products was founded by the Association of Independent Oil Distributors. We did that because we wanted to make sure that we had control. So some people think of it as a private label. We think of it as a national brand. We have national recognition, and we did that because we own it. So thankfully for us, they can't come to us and say, well, we don't like how you're doing things anymore. You can't sell Purus. So we own it. We control it. We don't have to worry about having it taken away from us. So when somebody says, what are you buying? If it's our Purus products, it's made by Prestone. We're proud of the formulation that they put together for us. We're proud of what they do for us. And we're proud to have it out there on the market. Some of the basics I think are important. Let me hide this out of here. Whoops. Are important to always remember. Coolant and your engine and your requirements are broken up into a third. When this was taught to me, I thought to myself, well, that's pretty easy. We like cutting things up. Primary job is passed through transferring of the coolant, and then taking that. A third is passed out through exhaust through the coolant, and a third is used to operate energy to operate the engine. So those 3 things there, when you say what's transferred, you're using coolant to transfer heat, and there's 3 ways that they like to get it out of the system. And you can see, the engine hasn't changed over the years. What has changed is the formulation of what we use in the engine. So we no longer have all steel components. We have aluminum. We have aluminum and steel. We have different items made up in the jackets now. So that's what's dictated the coolant needs to change. They decided, through trial and error, really, hey, guess what? Some of these mixing of metals causes different corrosions and different things to happen. And when those different things happen, chemical reactions take place and can cause damage if you're not keeping up on your coolant. The big thing here, and I'd really be interested to hear feedback either directly through me or through my sales team, is what's everybody using? There's a couple different things out there, green and yellow. I stole a couple pictures off the World Wide Web just to illustrate that you can have antifreeze. It can do all of the characteristics of these 3 things, but it may react differently in your application. So most people know it as green and yellow. In the heavy duty market, we know it as yellow, red, purple, or green. And each one of those at one point had a very distinct, different characteristic that was more widely recognized. Green is a low silicate formula. It's original formulation. It's not widely used anymore. It's used primarily, we see it in old equipment and the farm industry. Then purple kind of came into play. and everybody said, hey, these are pre-charged heavy-duty antifreezes. Those were, if you've been around a little while, you know those were things that you would add chargers to it, and that would extend the life of the coolant for you. Then they came out with a heavy-duty red, and everybody really kind of got used to that. That was an EC1 spec that really kind of drove that. And now there's some yellow back out in the market again in the heavy-duty area, and people are probably not up to speed on that just yet. That's one of the things that my guys are out talking with. If you haven't talked to one of my sales reps, shame on them, or maybe shame on you. Let them through the door. They'll put a mask on if you ask them to, and they can have a good conversation about this. That's what we're going to kind of go over today. This chart here kind of illustrates that. On your left side of the chart, you'll see the general OE's or manufacturer's name and the type of coolant and where it falls in technology today. So if you look from your left side, you'll see the kind of the green, then you'll see the purple, then you see all of a sudden we start adding these yellows and different colors in there, and then we start getting into that's hybrid of organic acid technology, HOPE. Then you have organic acid extended life technology, and now you have NOTE, nitrate organic acid ELCs. Excuse me. So these changes that have come into market, you could almost put a timeline on the bottom of here and go, hey, here's the 60s, and then we got into the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s now, and antifreeze has changed. The reason I include this in here is because most of you are all dealing with multiple manufacturers, multiple requirements, and different types. When people get caught on color of antifreeze, they often lose sight of what the technology is, and that's where we're going to steer this to today. We're going to steer you into this nitrate organic acid ELC. So it's nitrated organic acid extended life coolant, better known as NOTE. And NOTE is where things are going. So it's important that you know that. Here's just a simpler breakdown of what's how things are kind of classified in there by all the way up to your Class 8 applications and antifreeze requirements in there. When you get into there, these two coolants that you see here, okay, so your red and your yellow heavy duty, are NOTE and our organic acid extended life coolants. Okay, so those two coolants, I'm here to tell you, if you put it across that chart, I'm never going to have a problem. Why is that important to you? Because this looks a lot like the fleets that you probably maintain. You might not have an 18-wheeler or cement truck coming through there, but you've got a lot of these Class 6, Class 5s, and on through that probably float around in your mixed fleets. Just to give you an idea of what that means in protection and quality, your older coolants were designed for 25,000 miles or an OEM manufacturer specification. So green coolant, if you have any of it in your shop, really is only designed for 25,000 miles. Now, you may not hit that mileage interval, and you may think, okay, I'm all right. But now you have to ask yourself, what's that engine made of? Is it a steel block? Is it aluminum block? Is it aluminum and steel? And those things have a great impact on your coolant life. That's why NOTEs and OATs came about. Non-organic acid technology can take you up to 300,000 miles or 6,000 engine hours, or with testing and additional items that you can add to it, pre-charges and things like that, you can go out to 600 or 12,000. And OATs are 600,000 to 12,000 hours right out of the gate. And those can go to 1 million. So antifreeze has changed significantly. When you talk about having been on the green side of things and using green coolant, we're that's old. We are now full bore into putting it in there and having almost an unserviceable type of situation. Another breakdown. This is one that I tell people, you can print this one sheet up and you can put it somewhere as reference point. Quick, easy, get to, know where you're at, know what you're doing, and have it available for your guys as help come and go, or they get over there and you are dealing with multiple coolants. This is a quick chart. So if they happen to see a purple coolant, what is that? If they see a red, what is that? If they see a green, what is that? And know real quick what to use. So that's a quick printer sheet for you if you like. Once again, I want to drive this. This is where we're going to. Okay, I want you to be able to use one coolant. If you have one coolant and you use one coolant in your fleet, you're going to have less issues down the road. And here's why you'll have less issues. The heavy duty technology that's in the formulation of heavy duty antifreeze will protect everything in a passenger car motor that you could possibly have. So if that Chevy Suburban small commuter that you're using to run guys or students, from quick sites, or maybe it's a small travel chess team for the school or whatever it may be. I see them all over the street. I don't know what they use them for, but if you put that technology in that Chevy Suburban, it is going to protect that vehicle just as if an OE factory filled GM Dexos would, or Dexcool, excuse me. Now engine oil in my head a little bit. The advantage to that is you won't have the other product on the floor that if you put it in a heavy duty application, you would not be able to provide the same protection. Okay. So just remember, this can go back, but we can't come forward. So you got one coolant. We don't care what they put it in, but the quality of that coolant is strong enough, good enough, and provides enough protection that if they put it in one of your smaller units, you have nothing to worry about. Second advantage, they're lowering down inventory. Instead of carrying a couple drums for a few $100s a piece, or a couple cases for, $60 here and $70 there, you've got one. Yes, it may be a little bit more money, but it's one product, so you've actually lowered your inventory costs. And that's something we watch every day. Here's the do's and don'ts. Okay. Don't mix coolant technology. Well, Kevin, you just said if they pour that in that Chevy Suburban, it's okay. Yes, it is. It's perfectly fine. It takes on the characteristics of the product that it was put into. So if you used a heavy duty coolant and topped it off in a Chevy Suburban, or a Dexcool application, or a Ford F-250, it's going to take on the characteristics of that product. It takes on the characteristic of the lesser product, but it's perfectly fine to use in that application. Ultimately, what we tell people to do is, when you have failures, that's when you would then convert it completely out. Failures that you have now, that if you're using, say, green coolant and you're causing pitting and those type of things on sleeves of your engines, and those failures come up because you're not changing or addressing coolant or using the wrong coolant, those are big downtime. That's going to cost you an immense amount of money down the road. It's going to cause that motor to have to be rebuilt. Maybe you won't rebuild it. It's going to be lost money. So that's why when we talk about coolants and what you're doing and not mixing, it's more because we don't want you to mix until we tell you what you can do and how it can be used. Because if somebody mixes coolant up, you don't get any benefits. But if you mix coolant down, which this is our primary focus, buy the heavy duty antifreeze, nitrate free, you can turn around and use that in anything. You're not gonna create those issues because it's designed for aluminum and steel, and it's nitrate free. These are all the different specs that are out there. When you talk about trying to meet all these specs, and trying to be everywhere on there, the nitrate-free technology is the cream of the crop. You can see on here the CAT EC1 spec is over there in red. It's also over here in yellow. Well, why is that? Because it meets it. There's compatibility. There's things that are there. GM and all the other guys in the middle and all those things, they fall into that. They will meet the characteristics that you need for that. When you run into this will be overwhelming. This is the slide that I don't particularly care for, but I think it's important to highlight that the OEMs have specifications. And we know through the training that we receive, that we're sharing with you, that if you're using our nitrate-free technology, that you can put this in those applications, those requirements. The product you see is only as good as what's mixed with. At this point, to me, antifreeze is easy. To you, it's probably easy also. You've been buying an antifreeze, you know it works, you're good, you're happy with it. You may know about nitrate-free, you may not know about nitrate-free. What we want to stress is that if you go to nitrate-free, buy it in a 50-50 formula. Tap waters nowadays are filled with all kinds of different fluorides and chlorines and other things to purify it. People say, yeah, but I don't want to pay for water. You're not paying for water. You're paying for distilled water. That's been tested, pH is proper, and it's mixed with nitrate-free antifreeze, bringing it to the freeze protection level that you need and allowing you to have a balance in your engine to offset any other chemical imbalances that are out there. Remember, antifreeze is constantly fighting chemical reactions in the engine. From the aluminum, the steel, the heat, the combustion, the gases, all those things have an impact on your coolant. When we move forward with technology, we move forward with turbos, we added heat. We need the right coolant in there with the right mixture of good water, in this case, deionized water, allowing it to do the most important thing that it does, which is transfer heat away from the motor. So keep that in mind. If you're buying antifreeze from us, I'm sure our guys have said, hey, you're not paying for water. If you want to buy the 50-50, or if you want to buy the full strength, not the 50-50, we'll give you that option. We stock it. We sell a ton of it. We sell more 50-50 because we work so hard to let people know this is why you should do it. Then if you need some full strength because you changed a water pump or you only need to top off, then buy that in the cases. That's how we like to do it. That's how we like to keep things, available to you. Heavy duty antifreezes can be used in all applications, every application that's out there, from the sports car to my old Chevy to an 18-wheeler to a yellow piece of iron. Nitrate-free heavy duty antifreeze can be used in anything out there. We have no problems with it. It's overkill for the light duty guy, and it's exactly what you need for the over-road bus. For your applications and what you're doing, it's the direction that you should be moving in. There is no requirement that I'm aware of out there where people are specifying something that can't be covered with nitrate-free. Always just remember that when you use a heavy-duty coolant, if you pour it in a light-duty application, it's going to take the characteristics of that light-duty application. It's not going to ruin the antifreeze. It's not going to cause a problem. Antifreeze is made to be compatible. It's one of the requirements in the antifreeze market. Old formulas are still around. Passenger coolants are not made for heavy-duty trucks. Heavy-duty coolants can be used in light-duty applications. Coolant is only as good as what it's mixed with. We're here to help. That's a tough pill sometimes to swallow. We like to think we know more than we do sometimes. I know I was not as knowledgeable on antifreeze 10 years ago. And that was when I was out selling it directly, as my team does. But over time, I've made it a goal of mine to continue to learn about the market, learn about the changes, and get this information out to you guys. We want to see the industry move to nitrate-free. We like it. It comes in two different formulas. The one formula, I'll just pull it back here. Highlighted, I think. Where did I put it here? The one formula is a non-2EH with CoreGuard. That formula is done in red. The other one is done in yellow. We've taken a lot of our guys that used to buy the old Cat EC1 red heavy duty spec, and they want to stay with that color. So we brought them to the non-2EH formula, which is a specification for one of the OEMs that they have just a little more stringent requirement, and it's a good requirement, and we think it works well. So, that's kind of where the industry is going. Most of it is done in red. Let me see. I want to back that out. Let me close that down. I'll hit that button. And then that brought me back. Mic's still on. Okay, good. I hope, what I want everybody to understand is you can buy antifreeze from anybody out there, and we're fine with that. We're okay with that. We want you to buy it from us. We're a family-owned business. We think we do a darn good job. But I think when it comes to it, we're not just out there going, hey, this is my antifreeze, and here's my price. With us comes technical support. We can do testing on antifreeze. We can get you bottles so that you can send out your antifreeze and have it tested, see if you need to change it. And that's important. That's important. And we definitely think there's a lot of value in not going, hey, you have to buy this from me. We want you to buy it from whoever you like, but we want you to buy it because you're getting support for the group, and you're getting support on product knowledge. That's a key in today's world. Otherwise, little guys like us probably wouldn't be around that long. Outside of that, I've tried to keep it fairly simple, and now I'll leave it up to questions. If you guys have some questions, ask away, and I'll do my best to answer.
Hey, Kevin, what do you think of the flush systems? Like, should we be flushing our antifreeze systems out?
So we offer a heavy duty flush component made by Prestone. It's a very good product. The recommendation of flushing usually comes with a problem. Have you experienced some type of poor mixing of antifreeze? Somebody put, you've had some corrosion that has taken place. You've had some pit lining issues. You've had, a problem. If your fleet is running smoothly and you're not seeing deposits, and when I talk deposits, we're talking about, everybody remembers it back from, the early 2000 when decks cool and there was issues with people seeing like a sludge around radiator caps, and they were plugging heater cores. We've not really seen that recently, and that was the big driver for flushing then. And so it hasn't really been brought into today's market. So if you're not seeing a problem, we're not overly going out and recommending, hey, you better flush your unit. If you are seeing a problem and you want to flush a unit, you can buy the heavy duty flush. You can run that through the procedures on there. It's fairly simple, works very well. If you want to do a flush because, hey, I just replaced the water pump in this unit, and 90% of the coolant is out of it, and I just think I'd like to do it because I'm a preventive maintenance type of guy, you can do that. without the flush, because if everything looks good and you're okay with it, and we tell people is, fill that unit up with some water if you like, flush it through, and then start to redrain again, and then fill it with the appropriate nitrate-free heavy-duty antifreeze. It's a personal preference. It really is a preference. If you're not seeing an issue, the question would be, why would you do it? Because most of these coolants are designed on the low side for 300,000 miles and 6,000 hours. So on your fleet, you don't turn over, or you turn over your fleet quicker than most people do. I'm going to keep my delivery trucks a little bit longer because my return on investment has a different calculator than the schools do. So that would be what I would look for. And truthfully, I think if you test antifreeze and you say, hey, this bus has got, it's 5 years old, we've never done anything with the coolant on it, should we? Hey, grab a sample bottle from my guys. We'll show you how to set up an account. It's a small fee. You send it out, you have the coolant tested. If it's good, why would you do it? We're talking about downtime maintenance and things like that. We want to sell you coolant, but we don't want to sell you coolant if you don't need to change it. So I hope that answers it for you.
Yeah, that was the only that answers the question for me anyway. Anybody else have any other questions? Just unmute your microphone and ask away.
There's a wealth of knowledge up here, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, we've all been dealing with coolants, like you said, for a long time, but it's good to know about, get a refresher, get some professional outlook on it. I know we just purchased a flushing machine for ourselves here. We have a lot of the smaller buses, and we do see some of the residue around the caps, and that's sort of what triggered it for us. So we did buy a flush machine so we could flush all our systems out.
Is most of that residue in your smaller fleets? In your smaller buses?
Yeah, in the vans. Yep.
It's much more common in that application, and I think it's almost a credit to how well built some of the larger OEMs, when you start getting into Cummins Motors, Detroit's, and that of the bigger buses versus the smaller size fleets. There's much more mixed components in there, from steel and aluminum and other things that have a bigger factor on what degrades coolant. And that's why, from our standpoint, if you start with a robust product like a heavy duty coolant, and you wind up doing a service on your smaller buses, and you go, hey, you know what, that was factory filled with this, but we're going to use this step up, nitrate free product, because we know it's so much more robust. What I'm hearing, across my counterparts in the group, is that guys that have made that switch are very happy. And that's why we're starting to work ourselves to get that word out that, hey, you change the water pump on that bus, why not just use one coolant in your shop, put this nitrate free in there, and see how it goes, because we're seeing the benefits from it. We know it seems to be making its way through the market, and I think that's a good thing. What I do tell people is, try to stay away from, there used to be a big push in our market. There was guys that were selling recyclable machines so that you can recycle your coolant and refortify it. A lot of times you can get within the standard, but there's a characteristic of antifreeze called reserve alkalinity. And a lot of times you can meet the threshold and you can get it there by refortifying it. But you got to remember, the minute you put it in any application, it's going to start to react with any of the chemical failures that are in that system. So basically, let's say your good coolant is chocolate milk, and the bus that you were working on had some strawberry in it. And, you want to make sure that you knock that strawberry down. Well, if you're using something that isn't strong enough or is just at the start of the scale for your alkalinity level, it attacks it right away. So you drop down right away. So that's why we don't recommend doing flush recycles and things like that, where you're fortifying things yourself, because it's so hard to make a good antifreeze that we always recommend starting with new antifreeze, so that you have the cream of the crop, so that you can attack those things and be with it. And that's what heavy duty antifreeze really is. Heavy duty antifreeze has a strong enough detergent package, or makeup that, when you put it in, even though I know 100% you're never going to flush everything out of that, it's going to be good enough, strong enough that it will overtake that and make it good. I guess that's the best way to say it. You'll take that little bit of strawberry out of it and make it strong chocolate again.
Anyway, so your oil filters changed, your air filters changed. They reset the air filters at 25,000 miles. It was dirty. I mean, it wasn't clogged, but.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? No questions. Hey, Kevin, back in the day, I remember we had the little filters with the additives in it.
Yep.
It's still a big. Do people still use that, or is it just we don't even need it anymore?
Let's say your SCA pre-charge antifreezes.
Yeah.
It's probably not even 5% of my antifreeze sales anymore, because the technology in the nitrate-free is so good. I mean, it is, that was a way back in the day. They were like, hey, listen, they were able to get you a return on investment by saying, hey, you won't have to change out your coolant because we can continue to refortify it. Well, now they've turned around and said, hey, we know through this technology and all the proven information that's come through it and all the hard work that OEMs have done, that guess what? This nitrate-free technology eliminates that need. So your return on investment now is, well, you're not buying those recharge kits, or those filters to put in there. And what you're doing is you're putting in a coolant that you can test and look at it and see how it's fortified for how long it can go. And a lot of times with, just in normal routine maintenance and top off, you're adding a certain level of protection back in. You're bringing it back in. I always like using analogies of Nestle's Quick. That's what I remember as a kid. He kept putting a spoon in, and it was like, how rich can we make it? Well, if you drank some down, put more milk in, well, refortify it. Well, that's kind of how antifreeze is now. You seal the system, you put it in there, and then you say, okay, I did a little bit of work, I need to top it off. You refortify it a little bit, and as long as you test it periodically, you're able to find out, hey, guess what? I'm okay, or I need to do a flush, and I need to drain this out and fill it with new product. But it's very, very robust. The technology has come a long way. I mean, just in what's happened in the last 10 years is pretty amazing.
Okay. Yeah, lots of good information. Anybody else have any other questions or anything? All right. Well, thank you very much, Kevin, for your presentation. I really appreciate you stepping up and doing this for us. And remember, this meeting will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, so it can be viewed if you have members that aren't there, employees that maybe they work at the second shift. They can view this as well. The other thing that we need to discuss a little bit is we are updating our members list. Over the years, we've had people come and go, and they're still registered as mechanics at shops that they don't work there any longer. So we're trying to clean it up, and so if each of the districts can send me or Christine or somebody an updated list of who works in your shop. I know I got one from Queensbury, and of course, Mr. Ken from Greenville send me his. So I do have those. But if everybody can get me an updated list, we will clean up our members list. As of right now, our summer seminar is still scheduled for January 21st, 2022. Excuse me, July 21st. So that's the summer seminar. It's going to be at the On Center in Syracuse, unless things change, on July 21st. So, I don't know where the COVID thing's going to end up. I know that we had a district in our area that had to go back to remote learning for a while because they had an outbreak. So we're just kind of taking it day by day here. Our next meeting is going to be October 20th. And as of right now, that meeting is also going to be virtual. But our presenter is going to be Marty Lamon. He's with Kinetic Fuel Technologies, and he's going to be talking about the K100 line. And if you remember, we had BP do a presentation for us last year. This year, we're going to have Marty with Kinetic Fuel talking about the K100. I know a lot of us do use K100. Did everybody get the training schedule for this year? Because we have one every month right up until June, and that'll be our DOT roundtable with Mr. Jeff Corey. So that being said, does anybody else have anything to add to the meeting? No, if everybody is good, we will see everyone. I will send out the invite again, but we will see everybody in October, on October 20th, which is right around the corner. But that should also be another good meeting with the fuel treatments. I know, Kevin, we really appreciate you doing what you did today, and there's a lot of good information there. So that being said, I will close the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you.
Part two.